Good afternoon, everyone. It's Aniva Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, my contemplative time has been all about the idea of stability. And stability is really being tested for a lot of people in current times, isn't it? So when we see how much change is happening in the world, and certainly in individual homes, sometimes in individual workplaces, and certainly in world events, there's a lot of unstable energies around, right? So outside of us, we've always seen that change is quite constant. And sometimes it seems like there's so much more change right now, but really, we can look at just the weather, right? The weather always changes, right? So even on days that people have expected, it's going to be sunny, even when we only get the forecast in the morning, it can change by the afternoon. So change is happening and it always has. But certainly, we're suddenly much more aware about changes, right? So I can know how the weather is here and I can know about how it is halfway around the world too, right? And then we hear about different life experiences that are happening for different people, sometimes right around us, and sometimes again, halfway around the world. So, stability, when we think about stability, how do we get that stability when so much change is happening around us? And people got into this habit of, well, when things are not right around me, of course I'm not going to feel so stable. And that's when we have built our stability on the things that are around us that are changeable. Now, I'd love to talk to you just a little bit about a few quotations that I came across that are to just push in this idea of understanding mental stability. So, the first quotation is by an author and yoga guru who is named BKS Iyengar. And this quotation says, "A stable mind is like the hub of a wheel. The world may spin around you, but the mind is steady." Now, isn't that beautiful? Like, honestly, isn't this what we would all strive for? This is peace. This is always having peace in our minds. That's a stability. That space is always accessible if we are mindfully attentive to it and mindfully attentive to reaching that space and to actually pull the mind away from the spaces that does not give it stability. So this is an important idea that I know a lot of people have forgotten about. A lot of us have been trained to look at what's changing. Obviously, you're not going to feel stable. Obviously, I'm not going to feel stable. And people started talking this way. And not only the obviously, we've also said, well, that's kind of normal, right? We've normalized that, oh yeah, change happens, it happens. But we see this and then we also blame it for what the change that's happening in my mind because now I feel unstable. And when I see it and I share it with a person and I say, well, that's normal because, the weather changed and I wasn't expecting that. I was hoping to go on a picnic today, but it's raining, right? That sort of idea. Oh, yeah, that's normal. I'd be upset too. That sort of idea. Now imagine there are some minds that no matter what the weather, they're determined to be stable. And this is a skill that can be relearned, remembered, retrained. So, I do brain retraining with a conscious attention to being there. And what's interesting is we've become very sloppy with our thinking. We've said that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Oh, someone was upset around you and you got upset. Oh, I would be too. That's normal, right? So this is not a stable mind. And the person who's saying that back to us is also not a stable mind. And if you're worried and someone says, oh, I'm worried with you, that's not a stable mind that's supporting you. That's someone that's sharing your vibration of a low energy vibration. And the person who will lift you is a person who is in the stable mind. So recognizing this and recognizing that as anyone in a relationship. So parents can do this for their kids, right? They can see that their kids are having something happening, whether at school or at home or in their own minds, and they can lift them up and say, hey, everything's okay. And the parent needs to be that stable mind, right? And we kind of know this. Then over time, we start thinking, well, that child should have that stable mind. But if I was really comforting that child and saying, oh, I know you're worried and now I'm worried with you, or I worried all day because you told me this in the morning, guess what? You've just joined that vibration that someone else is on. Now, people do this in couples too. And even, I might even say there's kind of a pressure in couples where it's like, well, how come you don't even feel anything when I tell you this? I'm so upset and you're not even upset at all. You're just so steady. It doesn't matter to you. And the stable mind is often seen as almost an uncaring space from a person who is in an unstable space. So, this is an important thing to remember because many people will pull into that unstable space too, whether they express it or not. They will also be shaken up and say, well, I don't know how to feel, and I don't feel that way, but I feel really bad for you. Now, even feeling really bad for the other person is joining that vibration, right? So to be able to say that, I'm really sorry you're in that space, but listen, we can pull out of that and things will change. And we've all done this to help someone, right? But we've kind of forgotten what is normal and healthy and what is normal and acceptable in society. So, what we've created as acceptable is not healthy. And this is why we are seeing so many changes in mental health all over the world today. So, I came across another quotation which said, this is by Vernon Howard, and it says, remember above all that mental stability comes by examining the contents of the mind, not by avoidance. Remember above all that mental stability comes by examining the contents of the mind, not by avoidance. Now, I also work with grief recovery, but I'm going to tell you, we're a lot more comfortable talking about things like depression, anxiety, fear, right? We're much more comfortable talking about those. Yet, why don't we talk about the opposite areas, right? Why don't we talk about excitement and enthusiasm and joy and happiness? Because that is what we're all looking for. But the more time we spend on this is what's not right, we don't look at what is right. So even when I work with grief recovery, it's about looking at both sides and recognizing we've always got a chance, an opportunity to choose where we push our mind's thinking. And that's where we get to stability. So the same sort of concepts apply in that. Today, I'd love for you to think about that it is okay to talk about these emotions and actually examine them. They're not to talk about just to talk about, this is how not good I feel. Because that is not examination, right? That's not contemplation. That's not self reflection. That's not understanding. That's just talking. That could be knowledge. You could learn a lot about this information. And a lot of people love Dr. Google for that. So they find out all the information about their health condition and they'll say, I know all of this information. And even if you've got all that information, how do you move yourself into a good spot once you know that information? What I love to do is look up things that are really positive and uplifting, the information that can be useful to move someone into that space. That's what I love looking at. And if you're someone who definitely searches on Google regularly for your health concerns, how about looking at the things that are the miracles or the blessings that have come to people because they've gone through things, how people have overcome things, how wonderful they feel afterwards. It's not really learning the details. I have to do the same things they did. It's get into the mental space and feeling of it is possible. So that's one thing I would love for you to think about for 5 minutes after this video today. And then a lot of people will say, well, the whole world thinks this way. So this is, it's only normal in society. And like I said, normal acceptable is not normal healthy. And if we keep saying that because everyone else is like that, that's why I'm like that, we're still giving power to something outside of us. Our real power lies within us. And so I thought I'd finish this video with this one quotation by Bharat. And this quotation says, a person with a stable mind is way more powerful than hundreds of unstable minds. The reason behind this is focus. And this is the thing, if I am focused on keeping my mind stable, there's 100 people that can be around me with unstable minds and I can still stay focused. Because energies do join with each other. So that when people are in a space that is not happy or is more anxious or is concerned in any sort of way, it's very easy to join them in compassion, right? That I can feel with this person. And obviously, if we are empathic people, we will have a tendency to do that. Maybe that's not obvious. I think it's one of those things that if you know this whole idea of if you have a tuning fork vibrating at a certain frequency and you put another tuning fork beside it, they will both start vibrating at the same frequency. This is how we are as people too. So if someone's in a lower energy frequency. It's very easy for someone close to be in that same frequency very soon. So we have to know how we are spreading. This is like a virus. It is something that is spreading throughout the world. And unless we are mindfully aware of this, we won't change ourselves because we'll keep on waiting for things around us to change. When we change ourselves, it is so powerful, that vibration, that we start affecting the world around us. So, of course, immediately the people around us, and even the thoughts that we put out into the world about the people that we're hoping to send love or compassion or kindness or any positive energy to, it's all radiating from us. And when we can vibrate at that frequency, we're helping so much more than contributing to something that's already present. So I wish you that exercise today, and I hope that you will have a fantastic day ahead. I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.